Hello, and sorry it's taken ages to get this one out, but I've been busy. I wanted a cooling system, so what better place to start than the generator cover? As you can see, this little guy needed some help, but it wasn't too far gone, so a bit of tough love should bring it back. I removed the worst of the corrosion and most of the old paint with a Scotch-Brite wheel. Then gave the problem areas a once over with the Dremel. A nice clean with some solvent and it's ready for primer. My state-of-the-art spray booth proving it was worth the 9 seconds it took to make. After 2 coats of primer, I gave it 2 coats of satin black. Now, a dusty, cold garage isn't an ideal painting environment for anyone, so I wasn't expecting this to be a perfect result. But actually I was pretty happy with how it turned out, so I put it back on the bike. Right then, so the cooling system consists of a dirty radiator, 2 thin hoses, 2 fat hoses, and of course a handful of rusty hose clips. The radiator itself wasn't in bad condition. It was dirty, yeah, but the majority of the fins were straight, and it's never given me any overheating issues. Although it did have some paint peeling away, as well as some corrosion on the mounting brackets. The fan was in a similar state, so I got to work stripping it down, ready for the wire wheel. Most of the hardware was pretty poor, so I'll be replacing those on the rebuild. But for now, it's time for a cuppa. Actually, it's just my off-grid way of running a bath for the radiator, which I flush through from the back with warm soapy water. While that dried, I stripped the fan down and gave the bracket a once over to get the rust off. Sure, a sensible person would just get this blasted, but I was so pleased with this MacGyver bench wheel bodge, I threw common sense aside. I etched the surface of the radiator end tanks, removing the loose paint and hopefully making a decent surface for the high temp paint to bite to. The Dremel helped me get into the fiddly areas I couldn't reach on the wheel. So now I have a nice bunch of bits to paint. I started with the brackets. bit of dish soap and a rag was enough to get the dirt off the hoses. So that's everything painted. I'll leave it to cure overnight before I start putting it back together. The magic of satin black makes even the roughest paint jobs possible. I put the fan back together and then I began work straightening the fins on the radiator. I tend to use a metal cable tie to do this, gently inserting it in from behind.
We're better than this.
Anyway, while current me is being crude, past me is finishing up on the radiator, so I can put the freshly restored fan assembly back on. Some shiny new bolts and I'm really happy with how it looks. Anyone who keeps thinking, why is one of those brackets bent? Well, the answer is, I'd assumed it was meant to be like that and I only actually realised it wasn't when I fitted it back on later. Just thought I'd clear that up. Yeah, I am a moron. But I'm a moron with a nice, shiny, clean cooling system. I grabbed a new bunch of hose clips and started putting it all back on the bike. Looking pretty good. And for some reason I decided this was the perfect time to refit the plugs. So now I guess you can just watch me do that. Now before I pour good coolant into the system, I wanted to make sure there were no leaks, so I filled it with water first just to make sure. I made up a siphon with a short hose to fill it. Now remember how we established that I'm a moron? Yeah. Satisfied there were no leaks, I emptied most of the water out onto the floor with a few drops going in the tub. Then I filled it up with coolant, both in the radiator and the expansion tank. Now I promise it won't take as long next time. In fact, I've already made quite a lot of progress. In the next one, I refit the fuel pump, fit the ignition coils, give the carbs a decent clean, before dragging the thing outside to see what happens when I press the starter button for the first time in 5 years. Next time though.
What do you think this is, Line of Duty?
No, I just thought it might be like fun to tease.
Oh, will it start, will it not? Oh my god, such a prick.